The Azure Firewall is a managed service, which means you don't have to install the operating system or any updates or deal with any OS or hardware issues. It just works. Now, this all starts with virtual networks. Azure uses a software-defined network, which gives you a whole lot of flexibility and isolation. Each virtual network has its own address space, like 10.0.0.0/16. And each address space can then be further broken down into subnets like 10.0.0.0/24 and 1.0/26. To deploy an Azure Firewall, you need a special subnet that's called the Azure Firewall subnet, and it must be at least a /26 or larger. So why would you need 64 IP addresses for a single firewall? Well, this is because the Azure Firewall is built on top of something called a virtual machine scale set. A scale set is a special way of creating and managing a group of load balanced VMs all together. Now remember, a VM is a single computer. A VM generally gets one job to do, like running a firewall or a web server. And if you need more than one VM to work together, you need to put them behind a load balancer so that your clients just connect to the load balancer to get to that thing. And this is just like when you go to your favorite websites. There are dozens or hundreds of servers behind load balancers to make the whole thing work. And if you're doing things this way, that means to scale out, you'd have to build and configure more VMs and put them behind the load balancer. The VM scale set does all of that stuff in a single package. And the Azure Firewall is built on top of that VM scale set technology. So we do need all of those addresses in case the firewall needs to automatically scale up to meet your demand. But you don't have to worry about managing any of that stuff. You just get all of the native high availability and scalability as part of the service. Now, there are three components to making the Azure Firewall work, and that is the firewall itself, which is the VM scale set piece, and that handles all of the processing. Then there's the public IP address, and that's what allows you to connect to the firewall. And the third component are the firewall policies. So we see the rules here at the bottom, and those are created using a 5-tuple rule set, which means source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and protocol. Multiple rules go together into a rule collection, and those collections go inside collection groups in the firewall policy, and then you can also link multiple firewall policies together using parent policies. Now, thinking more about the firewall resources themselves, there's 3 different SKUs to pick from: Premium, Standard, and the brand new Basic SKU. Premium is the big guy. It has the most processing power. In fact, it has double the processing power of Standard, and it also has more throughput. It also has several advanced features that are useful in very high security or government environments. The Standard Firewall is the older sister of the group, and she's the first Azure Firewall and has a special place right here in my heart. The Standard Firewall also has a unique way that you can deploy it as part of a virtual network, which you'll see in the next video. Like the Premium, it is also highly scalable and can be built across all your availability zones. And the Basic SKU is the new baby in the family. This solution is the least expensive of the 3 and is intended mainly for small and medium-sized companies who need to secure their cloud environments. Basic is also built on top of a VM scale set, so it is highly available, but to control the cost, the SKU was limited to only having 2 virtual machines under the hood. Basic, like all the rest of them, all supports centralized logging and analytics, and of course there's more features than that. And the last thing to touch on in this lecture is about cost. You can see all of the costs at the Azure Price Calculator, and you can see that Premium is about $1.75 per hour, and Standard is $1.25 an hour. The Basic SKU actually doesn't have a cost yet because it's brand new in preview. And the last thing to remember around cost is the data processing. Premium and Standard both are about 2 cents per gigabyte. I'm not sure exactly what pricing will be for Basic here yet. Again, it'll be announced once Basic is generally available. So to recap, the firewall is where all the processing happens, and there are 3 different SKUs: Premium, Standard, and Basic. The public IP address is what provides the connectivity on the internet side, and it also gets a private network address on your virtual network, and it's the policies that define all of the rules. So now that you know everything about the firewall, you can click over here if you want to build the firewall with me step by step, or you can click over here and check out the premium firewall and all of its advanced features and see if that one's right for you. Build or premium? It's up to you. Happy learning.